for me.
Well, yeah,
So-
and like I don't know a whole lot about Catholicism because I just don't care. But I do know that the Pope claims to be, and big emphasis on the word claims to be the vicar of Christ, right? So what he says, people take as the word of God.
Yeah.
And so what he says, nobody questions. And if you
I don't understand that at all.
well, you question everybody. I mean, I could be
Yeah.
telling you the damn truth, and you'd question me. And
Well, that's just you.
yeah, well, that's probably reasonable too. But you know, this idea that whoever, and it doesn't matter who, it doesn't matter if it's the pastor, the Pope. You know, if it isn't God Himself, then maybe if you hear something that doesn't sound right, you should think, does this really sound like something God would say?
But you know,
or does it sound like something a man with an agenda would
yeah,
say?
exactly. But you know, churches I've been involved with, you're not questioning things is not okay.
Yeah, well, that's a problem.
And that's not to say that you're defying them or anything else. You're asking a question because you don't understand, but that's not okay, apparently.
Well, yeah, and I've done this before. It's like, hey, look, I know this is what I've heard, but this is what I actually read out of the Bible. How do you, and then they're polar opposites.
Yeah.
How do you reconcile that? Oh, well, you just need to trust in God. No, you need to give me a fucking answer.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, well, that's just like the whole, if you really put your trust in God, you would understand what the Bible means. Whatever.
Well, and not only that type of blind allegiance and motive has been used to oppress countless groups, gays, women, anybody that's,
and still is today.
yeah, I mean, and I actually did some research on this too, and someone's going to say, oh, well, the Bible says, oh, you better research your research, because the Bible doesn't say anything about gay people, and it certainly doesn't condemn women for being mouthy, except maybe you're a little bit mouthy, so you're probably going to
It
hell
does
for
say
that.
something about a man laying in bed with a man as he would his wife, or something like
Yeah.
that. I'm not sure the exact phrase, but
Well, I looked it up, and not that exact verse, but the whole big thing that they were talking about, number one, there wasn't a word for being gay back then, right?
right.
So there's no way that could have been the case. But
Wait.
there's no way that the Bible could have said that homosexuality is.
But they said
anything.
something about a man laying with a man like he would his wife. Yeah, they didn't have a word for it, so they were trying to explain it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one.
And you're telling people to research?
Well, fuck, I didn't research the whole damn Bible.
All right.
But yeah, and then like I was saying before, if everybody was going by the same playbook, there would only be one religion, right? At least one form of Christianity, but there's not. There's hundreds, I'm sure. And that is because of my favorite thing, religious indoctrination. And for anybody who doesn't understand what that is, that means you take the Bible and then you add your bullshit to it. You know, so we believe the Bible except for these parts, but we added this part over here. For example, women aren't supposed to wear pants. That's probably one of my favorites, because in ancient times nobody wore pants.
You know, they had,
Everybody
like,
wore
robes.
robes.
And,
Yeah, women wore dresses, guys wore robes, and the only difference was the guys had belts. That was it. You know, the whole the radio, that's the devil. I heard that because
Well, you gotta remember
I was raised Pentecostal. And they had a whole bunch of stuff that you weren't supposed to do. Watch TV, go to the movies, listen to the rock music. I mean, there was just a litany of bullshit.
well, you got to remember the Bible and all these other books and everything that go with it. They were all written by man.
Yeah, and that's
Well, but the thing is, over millennia, not only was it originally written down by man, but they've had councils that have gotten together and decided, like you were saying, that we don't like this chapter, but let's put this one in. We don't like that. Let's put that one in.
And then translations and
mistranslations.
Not really having a word for this in a different language, so they just kind of try to pick which one's best.
Yeah, and it's like with the so when the Bible was able to be translated, it was when they found the Rosetta Stone, right? They had this one passage of whatever it said, and it was written in Greek and Egyptian and Hebrew or something like that, right? Or it was Greek and Hebrew and some other language, and I don't remember what, Latin maybe. And so they were able to translate the Bible based off of that. Well, here's the thing, and you will never convince me otherwise, that those translations, whenever they were accurate. Because just like with our language, there are nuances, there are dialects, there's so much, there's context. You can't take this one phrase and translate it verbatim and get an accurate representation of what that phrase was meant.
Well, and I mean, even in our country, there are local words that don't mean the same as they do in another region of our country.
Yeah. Oh,
so I mean,
like the word bad.
Yeah.
Can mean bad or good.
Yeah.
It totally depends on who's saying it and the context. Yeah. The word cool can mean a temperature variant, or it can mean something that I like a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, they're half of our words have dual meanings depending entirely on context. Not only on context, but on regional context.
Yes.
If I say something in the South and I say something in the North that are the exact same thing, they very well could have two different meanings.
Well, it's just like the whole...
Or just have no idea what you're talking about.
Well,
yeah. It's like the whole pop Coke thing. You go up north and somebody says pop, they mean Coke. Or,
Yeah, I'm from the South. Everything's a Coke, and they're all just different flavors.
What do you want to drink? A Coke? What kind?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this is a huge topic. You could just go on and on and on.
Oh, and I could.
I mean,
oh my God,
you're not even getting into the whole priest molestation thing that I'm sure they've tried to justify this way or that way. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Well, they had one dude actually went to jail.
Yeah.
Finally, after how many? Yeah, one dude. There were thousands of accusations, and they finally threw one guy to the wolves.
Yeah,
and they were like, who was he in the church?
Like, I don't know, probably some low level.
Yeah.
Fucker. Who knows? I don't know the Catholic.
Someone they could easily throw under the bus.
Yeah, I don't know the Catholic, hierarchy, but
something that Brandy and I watched.
The nuns are on the bottom. I guess the altar is on the bottom, and that was wrong of me. But
awful.
Yeah, I know. The nuns are on the bottom and the Pope's on top, and everybody else is somewhere in between.
Well, something that Brandy and I watched on Netflix. It's called The Keepers, and it was about a nun back in the 70s and 80s. And I mean, oh my Lord.
Was this a documentary?
Yes.
Okay.
And wow. I mean, the things that this priest got away with, and they would just shuffle him around and make excuses and everything else. And I mean, it was just appalling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And apparently, he never really, there was never really any justice. And then he died. So, I mean, and this went on for decades.
Yeah, you want to talk about corruption. That's it. You want to talk about corruption. Asking for a $54 million jet when there are fucking homeless people in your town.
Yeah.
That is shameful. Mm-hmm. Having $13 million worth of house when there are homeless people right down the road from you that are starving and freezing every night. That is fucking shameful.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter how you justify it. God wanted me to have a $10 million house. I bet God doesn't care about what size house you live in. But I bet he does care about you letting that dude go hungry because you wanted that $10 million house, because that is ego, and that's horseshit, period.
I mean, when you're someone who is supposed to be doing good for the people, why aren't you doing good for the people? You're just doing good for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And when you've got that level of influence, I mean, you're talking about internationally recognized personalities.
Oh, yeah.
People will do what you tell them to, and if you tell them to help, they will.
Oh, yeah.
But if you just tell them
to help you,
if you just tell them to tithe, then they're going to drop their however much in the offering plate, and that will be the end of it.
Yep.
Wait a minute. There's a trend here in that church that I was talking about earlier. I know is one that does it, but there's a trend lately.
I have no idea who you're talking about. Let's start with new.
No. It's in North Little Rock.
The big one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They actually bring you in there and set you down and go over your financials.
Oh,
and you will tithe a certain percentage.
They'd be going over these nuts. That's it. It'd be like, whoa.
And people let them do this. I don't get that.
Yeah, let me.
That is crazy.
I'm just, you know, if I started going to this church and they started to pull something like that, I'm like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah, yeah. Here's the thing. That sounds like a corporation, but
Exactly.
But churches are tax exempt, and if you're going to do that, that's an admission fee, is what it is, or a membership fee is basically what it is. And if you're going to do that, you should lose your tax exempt status.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yep.
I bet you 90% if they investigated what they spend their money on, when, how, and where, they would lose their tax exempt status.
You know, that's like this this church that is in Houston, and I really don't want to keep using the guy's name because I don't want to fucking get sued. But I'd tell them to fuck off anyway. I don't have any money.
No shit.
But I was listening to a thing, but someone had gone into the church, and he was skeptical, and they had all of these different sections, you know, marriage counseling and for children and financial, all this other bullshit, right? And I'm like, that's really cool. I'm glad they're able to do that. However, if your pastor is getting paid enough to afford two multi-million dollar houses, he's getting paid too much.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not saying that he doesn't.
That's kind of like the thing
I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve compensation for his time. That's a full. That is definitely a full-time gig.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure that if the right person called him, he would be on the phone 24 hours a day. You know. But how many millions of dollars does a preacher need? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're really doing God's work, maybe you should turn some of that money back into your church or into something,
the community. Something.
Yeah. But if you've got enough to drop $15 million on a couple of houses, man, call me a skeptic, but I'm a little bit skeptical. Mm-hmm. You know, I just that type of shit. It feels to me like people are using the name of God to take advantage of their congregation. Mm-hmm. You know, and I understand that a lot of these churches, they do some good. And some of them do a lot of good. That's absolutely, I'm not saying anything different. However, what I am saying is maybe the preacher doesn't need a $10 million house or a $54 million jet.
You know, that's just like, here's a thought. If you don't do anything else, when your community has a disaster, average church has 50, 60 men in it. Mm-hmm. Mobilize all those men. Go out and help those people that have been hurt by this disaster, have had their homes destroyed by this disaster.
Oh, yeah. Joel,
you know, at a minimum.
That mega church in Houston.
He refused to allow.
Yeah. He didn't allow any, I mean, people were dying in these floods. Yeah. And he didn't let anybody in until he got called out on social media.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, well, we can't get to the building. Oh, you mean in Houston, don't one motherfucker have a boat?
Yeah.
Nobody has a life raft or a floaty. If you're going to help people, damn it, you can help.
And that's what I'm saying. That's not something you have to go search out to do. At a minimum, you can do that.
Well, and if your claim that your whole life is built around is that God is calling you to service, damn it, you are going to find a way to get there and help people.
Exactly.
Period. You're not, oh, well, it's not convenient today. Oh, well, you know, I don't know, it's a little bit rainy outside. Yeah, motherfucker, the whole town's flooding. Yeah. I bet it is. You know, and you should be the first one out there saying, if you need shelter, come here. Mm-hmm. And not, oh, well, they're dirty. You know? Exactly. Oh, they're not members of this church.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Nope.
You can talk about that later. Get them safe. Get them dry. Get them warm. Get them fed. And then you can deal with the rest of the, you know, whatever political, administrative bullshit you think you need to do. Mm-hmm. God, that
Yeah, that burns my ass right there. I mean, at a minimum, you can do that.
yeah.